Zephyr, have you ever lost a dog?
Yes, I can't find him.
Well, that sucks. Welcome back, everybody, to Not Qualified. I'm Joe.
Oh, and I'm Zeph.
This week we're going to be talking about Futurama, not the whole show.
That's right. It's too daunting. We'll probably do a lot of Futurama episodes.
Yeah, it's too daunting. There's way too much content to get into. It's such a layered show. Today we're just going to talk about one episode, and that is...
I should have looked up the name of it.
I was hoping you remembered it.
It's the dog episode. Okay, I'm going to Google it real quick.
Jurassic Park.
Oh, there you go. Thanks. Yeah. Good job. Jurassic Park. It was season 3, 2? It was in the first 4 seasons.
Yeah. 3, I think.
So I think season 3. So if you're familiar with Futurama, it is, in our opinion, the best animated show ever. It's probably one of my favorite shows of all time. We've talked about it a little on our TV episodes, but talk about Futurama.
Oh, as a whole?
Just give it a rundown for if you haven't seen it.
Okay, if you haven't seen the show, if you're familiar with The Simpsons, the same creator, Matt Groening, also created this show. It's very similar in style, animation style, obviously very cartoony, but it cuts that balance between Matt Groening's show The Simpsons and Matt Groening's show Disenchantment, if you've ever seen it. So one of them is very nonsensical, episode by episode, a serial.
And that's The Simpsons.
That's The Simpsons. It's just all over the place.
Animated sitcom.
Disenchantment's very story-driven, the entire show. This cuts a very fine balance of... Obviously, every episode is going to be a little different, but there's always some overarching thing that's going on that they're trying to work towards.
And so,
for most of the show, if not the entire show, it's Fry's relationship with Leela.
Yeah, and so we both love Futurama. The premise is the show started in 1999. I think there's 9 seasons.
Yeah.
So it was canceled after 4 seasons, and then they did a few movies, 4 movies, and then it was rebooted for another 5 seasons. So there's 9 seasons altogether with some movies in the middle.
Yeah.
It started in 99 and it ended whenever it ended. And the premise is a pizza boy delivery guy in 1999 accidentally gets frozen in a time machine, or he gets crypto frozen and
cryogenically frozen.
And he gets sent 1,000 years in the future. So he wakes up on New Year's Day in the year 3000.
Yeah.
And it just goes from there. He gets a job as a delivery boy just in the future. And so the whole show is this 20th century guy plopped into the year 3000, and he meets all sorts of weird aliens, and it's just crazy wacky from there.
Yes. So the episode we're going to talk about today
is widely considered like one of the saddest TV episodes of all time.
The premise of this episode follows the gang of people, the main characters, going to a museum about old New York. Because New York, right? It's New York. They rebuilt New York over the past 1,000 years over the ruins of New York. So it's New York. So old New York, they're finding
destroyed or whatever.
It's just in ruins. And they keep finding all these old relics of the past, and they go to this museum and they find Fry's, the main character's Fry's pizza shop he used to work at 1,000 years ago with his fossilized dog.
And so back in the past, Fry had a pet dog, who loved him very much, and this dog obviously was left behind. What's the dog's name?
Seymour,
that's right. Seymour Butts. Seymour was his dog, and obviously when Fry went to the future, this dog must have just, lived and died without him. And so the episode revolves around Fry finding the fossil, and the professor who Fry works for has this method to bring the dog back to life, or at least make a clone of him as he was when he was fossilized. So they're like, we can put your dog in this machine and he'll come back as he was whenever this fossil was created.
Yeah.
And Fry's wanting to do that this whole episode, and that's what the plot revolves around.
Yeah. So, spoiler alert, it's such a great episode. Please stop listening.
Stop this. And if you haven't seen Futurama, just go watch the show. It's one of the best shows ever. Even it's like good for kids, adults. I mean, older kids, but it's not wildly inappropriate. It's not like a Family Guy or what. It's pretty good for a family show.
Solidly,
I would say
it's not.
There's some inappropriate
super grotesque
stuff,
or anything like that.
It's not over the top.
So go watch that episode. It's great. Just get to that episode and watch it. It's worth the watch.
Yeah.
So spoiler alert, from here on out, they get to the end, and Bender, his best friend, a robot, gets very jealous that Fry is so affectionate over this dog that at the very end he has this impulse, very regretful, vengeful impulse, where he takes the fossilized dog and throws it into a pit of lava. And
before the dog can be resurrected.
Before the dog, they're in mid resurrection phase. They're trying to extract all the DNA and stuff.
Doesn't Fry decide not to?
Yes, they go. Bender jumps in. He sacrifices himself to go save the dog because this is Fry's best friend.
Yeah, and he does an act of kindness and he saves the dog. And Fry is about to clone the dog and bring him back when he changes his mind.
Because they find out the dog lived for another, like, several years.
Yeah, they do an aging thing. And they're like, oh, he lived for like 7 years after you. Yeah. And so Fry decides, oh, well, that means that my dog probably moved on. He probably got a new owner and lived a happy life. And to bring him back in that state, it would just be cruel. Yeah. And I should honor his memory by not bringing it back. Yeah. And so if the episode ended right there, it would just be a heartwarming tale of like, oh, fluffy feeling and move on. But then it plunges the dagger into your heart and twists it by showing you a flashback. This is the last thing the episode shows as the credits roll. And it flashes back to the year 1999, the day after Fry has disappeared. And it shows the pizza shop where Fry worked, and Seymour comes to meet Fry out front where he normally does. And he kind of looks around and realizes, oh, Fry's not here today, so I'll just wait. And he sits down and waits for Fry, and then the day passes, and then he comes the next day, and Fry's still not there. And it fast forwards through the next 7 years of Seymour's life.
Just waiting.
Sitting in front of waiting on the street corner, looking sadder and sadder every day. And his owner never came back. And he died there on that street corner. It's the saddest thing you could ever do to somebody. That episode is the most heart-wrenching thing. Yeah. And then Fry doesn't bring him back because he assumes that Seymour lived a happy life without him. And it's just the saddest. I don't know. That's
and just what a power move on their part just to make something that sad.
I know. That's like the saddest possible thing you can conceive of. And they did it. Yeah. Primetime television.
Before we recorded this, I made a statement.
Okay.
Because you said, what are your thoughts on this episode?
Yeah.
And I said it was overrated.
Okay.
I don't mean that as in it's not worth what it is. Uh-huh. I get it. Among people who know this show, I know we don't have to linger on it.
Right. It's people harp on it too much.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is probably one of, probably top 3 episodes of that whole show.
Yes.
I'm not saying it isn't. I'm just saying
it's overrated by how much we talk about it.
Yes.
All right.
It's hyperinflated.
We'll do another episode at some point where we each talk about our favorite episodes because I already know mine. I don't know what yours is, but so. Right now, before we move on to this next segment that we're going to talk about, let's give this a number, but not a number based on our usual system of 1 being our favorite movie and 100 being our least favorite movie. Yeah. Let's do it just Futurama episodes. So number 1 is your favorite Futurama episode. Number 100 is your least favorite. Where would you put this?
I should know more because I've seen this show so many times that I should probably have a better feeler for how I should gauge this. Yeah. But I'd probably still put it 4.
Yeah, I was going to say 3 or 4. It's up there, but it's not the number 1.
Yeah.
What curiosity, off the top of your head, what would you say is your number 1 without having gone back and look at the list?
Okay. Luck of the Friarish.
Oh,
whenever his brother, it turns out that his...
Yeah, it's the same thing. Yeah. We'll talk about that.
It's also really
so we have different favorites. That's up there too, but my favorite is, I think the name of it is Cavern on the Green.
Oh, yeah.
With the time travel episode.
The time travel episode is really good. That's probably on
it's so good.
5 episode too.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll talk about those later. Yeah. But let's stick to the dog thing.
Okay. Because we both have opinions on this next.
So the creators of the show did something infamous to this episode. This episode
was during the movies, whenever they were...
so the show had been canceled, and they started releasing these movies to continue the story. 4 movies straight to DVD. And in one of these episodes, the creators of the show do something that is now infamous. People hate it because it kind of ruined... This dog episode, even at that point, was known as one of the best episodes of Futurama. People loved it. Yeah. And this kind of retconned it and changed it retroactively. So you talk about that a little.
Yeah, so during one of the movies, was it Bender's Big Score? Where we find out, so Fry is in a competition during this movie with a different man for Leela's affection, right? This man named Lars. Well, Fry ends up going back to the year 1999 again at some point in the episode. I don't remember how they worked it out. I just remember the broad strokes of this episode. Yeah. He goes back in time. The movie. He goes back in time in the movie to the year 1999, and so it turns out that he actually just lived the next several years with Seymour.
And Lars is himself.
And
so they change it to where apparently in the timeline, a version of Fry actually went back to 1999 and lived out the rest of those years. And so it turns out that it shows the same scene again, almost as a way to say, oh, look, it's not that bad. Yeah. It shows the same scene of Seymour sitting on the street every day, except turns out that Fry's actually living in the apartment above the pizza shop the whole time, and Seymour lived the rest of his life with Fry.
Yeah.
And on one hand, you're like, oh, okay, good. Things weren't so bad for that poor little dog. But now we're left with an episode that did something horrible and cruel, but like beautiful.
Yeah.
That is now meaningless because they completely changed the meaning.
Yeah.
And what are your opinions about that?
Me big sad
too. Monkey fight Godzilla. Yeah.
Me sad monkey.
I wish they had never retconned it. I in my mind, I pretend it doesn't exist. But at the same time, I still like the movie.
Yeah, I still like it's unfortunate because I actually really love the movies.
Yeah.
Just as much as I love the rest of the show.
Especially that one. I thought it was cool, the idea of having two Frys in the timeline and one going back and living. I liked that.
Yeah. It just, that episode now devalues one of the best episodes in the series. Mm-hmm. And it's like, I'm trying to reconcile both of those things.
I know, and it's hard. So, give the dog plotline a new number. You gave it a 4.
Yeah.
Give it a new number based on this new knowledge.
With its devalue.
Yeah.
Okay.
Remember, this is a scale of 100, so you can go however far you want.
Okay. It's not. This is on a scale from best to worst, not good to bad.
Right, because they're all good.
They're all good, and
so even in a 100 in this case would be good.
Yeah. It would probably, with the new scale, it'd probably be in the 70s somewhere. I don't care anymore. It sucks that I don't.
Yeah, I don't have the emotional weight attached to it anymore. So it's a 65 for me instead of a 3. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I wish they hadn't done it. But what's done is done. All right, Joe. Any last thoughts on the dog plotline, Seymour plotline of Futurama?
No.
Cool.